If you have ever practiced attachment parenting, you know this feeling. It is kind of intense. It's like an overwhelming feeling that you need space. It's like a feeling of enough, like enough. I need everyone to back up. Attachment parenting isn't all cuddles and kisses and, you know, permissiveness. That's not what it's all about. It actually takes a lot of work, and in some cases probably a lot more work than a more conventional parenting style. And I'll tell you why. Hey guys, I'm editing this video right now, and I just wanted to give a quick little disclaimer at the beginning. First of all, I want to say I was really inspired to make this video like right now. The other day when I filmed it, it had to be now, it couldn't wait, and it was a super cloudy, thunderstormy, rainy Florida afternoon, so I apologize for the lighting. I did the best I could with it, but I thought, you know, I'm not gonna refilm this because I was inspired in that moment, and it's never as good the second time, and I wanna give you guys my best. And then I also would just like to say that this is not about mom shaming, mom guilt, or it's not like a how-to video on parenting. It's just my experience and my struggles that I've had with natural parenting and the reasons that I choose to continue attachment parenting, even though it might be hard for me sometimes, or even often. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and yeah, let's get right to it. Hey guys, today I want to talk about something a little bit different. I've had kind of a demanding, challenging week as a mom. As you guys know, we renewed our Disney passes last month, so we've been hitting up Disney once or twice a week for the past few weeks. And last week, the boys got sick, and one of them got really sick. It's hard enough being a parent on a day-to-day basis, but when you have a sick child, it's scary. You get even less sleep, and you're constantly worried. There's always something to do anyway, and when a kid is sick, it's really emotionally and mentally and physically, because of the loss of sleep, demanding. So we're on the other end of that now, but my body and my mind are still playing catch up after a week of overwhelm. Just too much everything. Too much coughing, too many late nights, too much medicine, way too many high fevers. And it got me thinking a lot more about my parenting style, and how even though I think that what I'm doing for my family is the right thing for my family, I think it makes my life harder and more stressful in some ways. So I just want to talk about a few of the struggles that I've had with natural or attachment parenting, and why I choose to continue raising my children in that style. The first struggle is breastfeeding. I have breastfed all 4 of my boys until they were between 2.5 and 3 years old, including my identical twins, and I'm still breastfeeding my 4th and last baby. I've been breastfeeding and or pregnant for the past 8.5 years straight. Yeah, breastfeeding is obviously awesome and amazing, and honestly I'm still in awe of it. There definitely is something, you know, like a mother and baby breastfeeding bond. There are a lot of hormones there that keep the mom and baby connected, and breastfeeding is awesome, and I will always be a supporter of breastfeeding. But there are struggles. It can be confusing, and it can be hard, it can be painful. I know that some women have a concern of not making enough milk, or they're working mothers who have to pump. Yeah, breastfeeding is not always easy. It can definitely be a struggle. For me personally, I definitely struggled with breastfeeding, especially with my very first baby. I did have a birth doula and a postpartum doula, and they did help me a little bit. But if you've never breastfed before and you're a brand new mom and this baby comes out, like it's so surreal. Like, it's surreal enough. And then, you know, your breasts get gigantic after birth. You get when your milk comes in after the first couple of days, and it's just like, what is happening? Why does everything ache? And I definitely experienced that with my first baby for like 12 hours. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've ever been engorged, you know, it is so painful. Like, I couldn't even lift my arms without like sort of moaning in pain. So yeah, that was no fun. And then I continued to have pain breastfeeding for the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks straight, every single time he latched on. If you've had an exclusively breastfed baby, you know that they breastfeed around the clock, like 8 to 12 times a day for 20 to you know, 25 minutes or however long. Every baby's different. So you might be thinking like, why would you continue doing something that hurt you for that long? It slowly got better and better over time. The reason that I continue doing it is because I knew that that was what was best for my baby. And that's why I continue breastfeeding my babies until they're almost 3 years old. The World Health Organization recommends that babies are breastfed for at least the first 2 years of their life. And after that, I just continue on until I just don't want to anymore, basically, and then I will gently wean the baby off the breast. But yeah, breastfeeding is definitely a struggle, especially when your kid is 1.5 to 2 years old and they still want to nurse at night. At that point, you're done. You're just done being up in the middle of the night breastfeeding. Another struggle of breastfeeding that I definitely experienced with my identical twins is that since I chose to exclusively breastfeed and not pump, I was the sole nutrition provider for my babies. A lot of people would ask me like, why are you even breastfeeding them? They're twins, it's okay, just bottle feed them. And it just never really made sense to me. They're still human babies and they still will thrive on my breast milk if I am able to make it, and if I am able to stay home with them and give it to them, then I'm going to do that. Even though it may be harder for me, I knew that it was what was best for my babies, so I stuck it out and I did it. I did have help from my husband and from my mom at night, but since they weren't able to breastfeed, the babies mostly wanted me. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, those were definitely probably the hardest 2 years of my life. If I could, would I go back and bottle feed them? No. Would I maybe have pumped during the day so someone could help me with nighttime feedings? Honestly, probably not, but I think it is a good option. I think it is a valid thing to do if that's something that you're comfortable with, but for me, it's just, there was like a stubbornness in my head, like, no, my babies need me, and yeah, I definitely suffered in that a little bit. All right, on to the next natural parenting or attachment parenting struggle that I've personally experienced, co-sleeping. So I never had a desire to put my babies in a crib. They always slept with my husband and we never had any issues. You know, we practiced safe co-sleeping. I can put some links in the description box below about that. Yeah, so struggles of co-sleeping. I'm gonna address an issue that wasn't an issue for me, but that a lot of people are curious about, like people who haven't co-slept, and that is the sex issue. I always have to kind of laugh when I hear this. Your baby sleeps in your bed? How do you have sex? Come on, people. I'm gonna keep this short and simple. Be creative. You don't even have to be adventurous, but like, you don't have to be in your bed to do that. So yeah, anyway, that was not an issue for us. But the issues that we did have is that babies and young kids sleep kind of crazy. They're always rolling and kicking. Co-sleeping is still something that you have to get used to, even if you have like one of those little co-sleepers in your bed when your baby is little. That takes up a little bit of space. So if you're used to sleeping in a bed with 2 people and your baby is born and all of a sudden you not only have a third person, but you have a little, like one of those co-sleeper, safety co-sleeper cushions in your bed, yeah, not only is it in between you and your partner, it's also something that you have to be aware of when you're sleeping. You definitely have less room to sleep at night, so that's like a minor struggle. As the kids get bigger and they're still co-sleeping with you, like once they're not infants anymore, they're not newborns and they're toddlers, they definitely roll around more and kick and like lay horizontal in the bed or like lay horizontally on your pillow, and it's like, should I move them? Is it worth it to move them? And then they're awake and you're awake and like we're all awake at night? Nah, not really. One of the struggles of co-sleeping for sure is that everyone kind of ends up in weird, sometimes awkward, uncomfortable positions at night. So yeah, that's just something to consider. Probably the biggest co-sleeping struggle is getting your kids out of your bed once they're ready, once you and your partner are ready. That's where the real struggle comes in because they're used to sleeping with you. And I actually hear this one as a criticism, like, oh, they're gonna sleep with you forever and it's gonna be so hard to get them out. But personally, I would not ever let my babies cry it out. It never really made much sense to me because I don't think it's, from what I've seen, even just here on YouTube, with the cry it out or Ferber method or sleep training, I don't think that it's any easier to get your child out of your bed when they're babies. I think that just because babies don't speak our language yet, and all they can do is, the only way that they can protest is by crying or screaming. It's easier to kind of ignore their cries. I think that since a baby can't get up and run to your bed every time they want to be close to you, it's easier in that way to not have them sleep with you or to have them in their own crib for you to start getting rest. I don't think that it's better, and for me, I know that the best thing for my babies was that I respond to their cries. That doesn't mean that I always wanted to be up. I saw a video recently on attachment parenting. You guys may have seen it too. It was kind of a negative view of attachment parenting, and it just did not make sense to me. But the person was talking about how she just didn't understand, or she thought it was so ridiculous that attachment parents just wanted to, and they had these natural, like a natural want to get up at 2 a.m. every night and like rock their baby to sleep or breastfeed their baby to sleep or have them in their bed or whatever. And it's not about what we want, or for me personally as an attachment parent, it's not about what I want, it's about what I feel is best for my baby. So if it's between me struggling a little bit or me being overwhelmed or tired, as opposed to my baby being overwhelmed and alone and screaming and tired or whatever, yeah, I'm definitely going to put that on myself and not put that onto my tiny baby. Getting my kids out of my bed now that they're older, yeah, that's the biggest struggle, because I don't want to force them before they're ready, or manipulate or coerce or threaten or whatever, you know, or shame them into getting into their own room. But obviously I think it's good for them to, as they get older, to start becoming a little more independent. You know, they can understand why the parents need their own space, or like what I started saying to my oldest when he left our bed was, he started saying, oh, my brothers are squishing me, or I'm uncomfortable, or I'm hot. And I would say, baby, that's your body telling you that you need more space. Your body's getting bigger now that you're getting older, and your body requires more space, you know, so you really need your own bed. And, you know, that kind of got the gears turning for him. And yeah, he decided on his own that he wanted not only his own bed, but his own room. So we kind of like let that happen naturally. And it's not always that easy, because every child has their own personality. As a mom to 4 boys, especially like after having identical twins, I realize how different every person is just naturally. So anyway, that is a struggle of co-sleeping for sure, trying to get them out of your bed once they are older. Do I ever think, oh, I should have just done it when they were babies? Absolutely not. We've talked about breastfeeding and co-sleeping, and that brings me to my third point, and this is probably one of the biggest struggles of attachment and natural parenting, and that is being touched out. This is so real. If you have ever practiced attachment parenting, you know this feeling. It is kind of intense sometimes. So first of all, if you are not an attachment parent, or you're not a mom yet, or you're still a new mom and you haven't quite hit this touched out feeling yet, this is what it is. It just means that you haven't had enough personal space physically or emotionally, basically. Okay, baby, let's do it. My kids are homeschooled and breastfed, and we co-sleep. So I don't have, like right now, so I don't have a lot of personal space, honestly. Being touched out means that it's like an overwhelming feeling that you need space. You just need space. So at the end of a stressful day where the kids have been fighting all day, or if the baby is cluster feeding, or your toddler just wants to nurse every time they stumble, it's like a feeling of enough, like enough. I need everyone to back up. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to nurse. I don't want all of the noise around me. I just need a moment. That's what being touched out is. I just need space for a minute. What ends up happening on days like this is I'll either put the boys in front of a movie, or I will get them to bed early. And when my husband gets home, I end up like downloading on him, and he's like, whoa. And I'm like, it has been that kind of day. I am just done. And I'm sure that all parents feel this way, all caregivers feel this way. Sometimes I think that it would be more intense if you're breastfeeding and co-sleeping and homeschooling, and you just don't get a break. So that's definitely one of the biggest struggles for me, being touched out, and it's exacerbated by my first two struggles, which are breastfeeding and co-sleeping. My last struggle of natural parenting is income. Before I got pregnant the first time, before I ever had kids, I always made a good income. I always was in upper level positions at my previous jobs. My main jobs were always in the natural foods and health foods industry. I was used to working full-time. I was used to being in upper level manager positions and, you know, basically running the whole show, getting paid well and getting bonuses. It's nice to have two incomes, basically. But I always knew that, even before I ever got pregnant, that when I had a child, I would not be going to work and leaving my child with a babysitter or a daycare center. And I understand that that's a total privilege. I know that not everyone has the opportunity to stay at home with their children, and I never ever take it for granted. I know how special and how fulfilling it is, but at the same time, it also is very intense and overwhelming sometimes too. I'm very extroverted. I like to be busy, and I'm very social, and I like to be out. I am not a homebody at all. So the switch from being busy and making money and being out all day, you know, talking to people, to being at home with a newborn was very hard for me. It's still hard for me 8 years later, honestly. 8 years and 4 kids later, it's still hard. I still struggle with it. And I actually got a job. I got a job when my twins were like 3 or 2.5-ish. It was just 1 day a week, and it was 4 to 6 hours. That was not enough, but it was something, and I was touched out. I needed that space, and I told my husband, I have to be around people. I need to get out there, even if it's just 1 day a week, get a job again, have some time to myself. It was a really good experience until I got pregnant with my 4th kid. Also, I was bringing in extra money, so that was nice. Going from making 2 full-time, nice incomes to 1 income and adding family members over the years has been a huge struggle. I wouldn't change it. I'm not planning to send all my kids to public school or daycare just so that I can go out and get a job and we can have more money. This is one of those things where I'm definitely making my life more challenging. Let's call it challenging, more interesting. Because we have to be very careful about our finances, since we're a family of 6 with 1 income. As the kids get older, I might decide to get a part-time job and somehow trade off with my husband, but then I'm trading time with him as well, and we wouldn't see each other as much. So yeah, there's a lot to think about if you're thinking about attachment parenting, but for me personally, it is definitely worth the overwhelm and the sacrifices that I have to make in order to do what I think is best for my family and my kids. I hope that if you're thinking about attachment parenting or you're a first-time parent, that this video was helpful for you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Baby.